Yo, Kai here. I just recently watched Cyberpunk Edgerunners 3 years after it came out, and man, I'm not gonna be a bit depressed for a week now. So hey, I thought why not talk about it a little here. Well, first things first, I will separate this review into two categories: non-spoiler and spoiler sections. Well, because otherwise, without it, I'm gonna keep rambling on and probably mistakenly spoil some stuff. In case you are legitimately interested in watching this anime. Well then, let's begin with the non-spoiler section first then. The anime was made by Studio Trigger, the legendary studio who made Kill la Kill, Gurren Lagann alongside many other good shit that I still haven't had the time to sit down and experience, and is based on the video game Cyberpunk 2077, which itself is based on a tabletop RPG named Cyberpunk Red, which itself is based on a tabletop RPG of the same name from like a decade ago. So it's a rabbit hole. Like, it's based on a lot of fucking source materials that the source material is based on another source material. Like, it's the whole thing. Okay, like, all right. The cyberpunk genre, it's a tabletop RPG that is as old as many of the other hard hitters in the genre, such as Warhammer 40k and Dungeons and Dragons. This anime, which was made in collaboration with CD Projekt Red, the devs of Cyberpunk 2077, is probably one of the few instances I can think of where a studio who is handling a video game adaptation actually gave a shit. Within just the first episode, you can immediately tell that this anime was a labor of love. That Studio Trigger truly care about the cyberpunk universe and know exactly what its essence is. As I said previously, the OG tabletop RPG for this is as ancient as Warhammer and D&D. And just like those two properties, the cyberpunk universe itself also has its fair share of massive lore, near endless stories, and its own unique sense of existential dread through a heavily corporatized dystopian future. And Studio Trigger made full use of all those themes to its fullest extent. Heck, I sat my ass down thinking I'll be getting 10 episodes of a pretty generic cyberpunk story with some juicy Studio Trigger quality action scenes, and that will be it. Instead, by the end of episode 10, I was struck with a overwhelming sense of sadness that night. The last time I felt something like this was when I watched the ending of Assassination Classroom, an anime from a decade ago. So yeah, this anime hits hard. But you know what else hits hard? The city that will keep hitting you down, that will chew you and spit you out. The city of promise that everyone hates, but no one can ignore. Cyberpunk Edgerunners version of Night City looks absolutely stunning. Every scene, every highway, and every place the characters visit looks like they came straight out of the game itself. Well, that would be because they literally did. Apparently CDPR gave Studio Trigger all of their levels, the game design and the blueprint for Night City itself, alongside any other information they may need during the development. Which means that if you're someone who got interested into playing the game after watching the anime or vice versa, both parties will see a bunch of references that will make them go, "Hey, wait, I know this place." Heck, Trigger were so faithful to the game that they even accurately depicted the vehicles being ragdoll messes like in the video game, especially when it launched back in the day in an absolutely horrible state. Now I want to discuss about the characters in the story, but it's almost impossible to do so without going into spoiler territory, so this is now gonna be the spoiler section. Before going to the nitty-gritty of the plot, characters, and the themes presented, if you're interested in this anime even in the slightest and don't want any spoilers, then I highly recommend that you watch it before you watch the rest of this video. If I had to give a score, then this anime is a solid 7 out of 10. It's definitely not a masterpiece and is not gonna be breaking any grounds when it comes to storytelling. However, what it does achieve beautifully is giving you an experience that will likely last with you for quite a long time. From the beginning of episode 1, we get introduced to Night City through David Martinez, our protagonist, a young teenager who's experiencing what I can only imagine to be some sort of virtual reality equivalent of digital crack. I mean, just look at bro. He's legit tweaking. I really like David, and the reason is that he doesn't really have a dream, any kind of goal or any big inspiration at all. Throughout the show, he basically just inherits other people's dreams for him. He inherited his mom's dream for him to follow the path to become an Arasaka corpo. He inherited Main's dream for him to become a legendary Edgerunner. Main is, on a side note, Main is the boss of the gang that he later joins. So yeah, forgot to kind of mention that. And for me personally, I kind of relate to that. Ever since I could remember, I never really had a long-term goal of what I personally want to become. Like I kind of wanted to become a fighter pilot, but that dream quickly disappeared as soon as my ass got some glasses at the age of 10. So I guess that was just a phase. So now I'm just chasing a profession that mostly my dad wants me to follow. So in that sense, I could relate to that with that kind of a character like David, where it's not that they have a dream but they just feel pressured to not follow it. No, it's not like that. Like David doesn't really have a dream. And the whole show is basically him finding a goal that he is willing to do anything for, which if it even means costing him his own life. I must say, just witnessing a bit of David's life made me so much more appreciative of the fact that my family doesn't live in downright poverty state. Now, that's not to say that we are drowning in money, far from it. My family is your average middle-class household. And while we do have some major financial troubles and arguments regarding it, most of it is usually relating to long-term plans, like me and my younger brother's education. On the other hand, David and his mom are constantly strapped for cash because of how expensive the corpo high school that David goes to is. Now, also a side note, in the Cyberpunk universe, there is basically no government enforcement as far as it matters, and multiple mega corporations pretty much run everything, holding a strong monopoly over society as a whole, with Arasaka being one of these top corporations. Nowadays, I really get annoyed with many entertainment media, especially the ones from the West, with many of the shows and movies from those places having these very shallow themes of capitalism bad and discrimination is bad. And while those messages are fine, the way they execute it is so poorly done. It just makes my eyes roll. Now, don't get me wrong, there are many flaws in the capitalistic system, but despite that, there is a very good reason why it is the only type of monetary and societal system that has survived and has been adopted by many civilizations for centuries. Edgerunners is one of the few modern medias that critiques this system in a nuanced and mature manner through the life of David, showing the potential dystopian future we may be headed towards if the negative effects of capitalism is not regulated properly, which will then grant giant companies even more power than they already have, to then become mega monoliths with more power than most governments in the world. We see this in the show with David getting slowly poisoned by the city, with him losing his mother due to a simple road accident from a highway shooting, just because he was too poor to even afford the minimum amount of medical insurance for trauma coverage, constantly getting threatened to kicked out of his home by his landlord without even the opportunity to even take in debt. Oh yeah, side note, there is no debt in Night City. Yeah, like no one gives anyone debt because everyone just assumes, this guy will probably be dead within a week. So there is no debt system in Night City because the life expectancy of your average evoke is so low, the crime rate is so high, that people are constantly dying left and right. That's how horrible things are. So yeah, similar to Walter White in the beginning of Breaking Bad, you really understand why David decided to get involved in the criminal underbelly of Night City. Why he undergoes the very painful and invasive surgery to install a military-grade implant on himself. The show really doesn't hold back when it comes to some really hard-hitting questions. Is it really worth it to be that normal human who is constantly in danger to getting flatlined? This universe's lingo of getting murdered, basically. Or should you slowly abandon your humanity by implanting yourself with as much cyberware as possible, with a possible chance of going cyber psycho, a term to describe edgerunners who lose their mind and go on a killing spree. Every character's actions and their life can pretty much be a tragic tale straight out of a Greek mythology. David loses his mom and then Maine, the leader of his gang and also sort of a father figure to him, and kept implanting himself with more and more cyberware as a sort of coping mechanism to his trauma, which only further led him to getting more and more unstable mentally. Believing his own hype that he's somehow special, or in his own words, being built different, because he can easily use the Sandevistan, a high-grade military implant, which, without going cyber psycho, that practically gives him the superpower of being the Flash. Lucy, a gifted netrunner, so traumatized with the events in her childhood involving Arasaka that she would go to any lengths to protect David from them, which unfortunately led to her getting captured and thus leading David right into Arasaka's headquarters. Rebecca, haunted by the fact that she couldn't protect her brother, deciding to practically dive to the jaws of death by taking David to Lucy at the Arasaka AG, knowing very well that she probably won't survive this mission. Boy, fun times. Well, I really don't want to give away any more than I already have, because this whole story is only 10 episodes. So it is definitely something I want you to experience yourself. You can finish it in 2 hours, heck, maybe even 1 hour if you really want to. Now, if it wasn't obvious enough with the constant glazing, I absolutely love this anime. And having said that, it's obviously not perfect. And I do have to point out that this might be a bit of a nitpick from me, but I feel as if the relationship between David and Lucy felt a little rushed. At least from Lucy's side. I can kinda understand David's point of view. Imagine your only family who you loved very much suddenly dies. You're now in a very bad state and have no clue what you will do. Then one day you meet this baddie named Lucy. She offers you some money that you really need right now if you do some pickpocketing with her. Saves your ass from illegal organ harvesting and gives you positive affirmation, and is just generally a blast to be around. So it's no wonder that David fell in love with her. Hell, any guy in his place probably would do the same. However, that same song of development really wasn't there in the case of Lucy. In episode 2, they went on a pseudo-virtual moon date. In episode 3, she was just being a sarcastic twat the whole time. And in most of episode 4, she was just being cold towards David the whole time, until the end of the episode, when psych, it turns out she also likes him, but didn't want him to become an edgerunner, as that's pretty much a surefire way to die in Night City. The evolution of their love story felt a bit too fast-paced, in my opinion, and that's understandable because they had only 10 episodes to wrap everything up, which is a shame since their love story is pretty much the central core of this story. Other than that, my other gripe would be that the anime definitely leaned way hard on the lore of the game and Cyberpunk universe, and never really explained any of the stuff properly that is happening on screen. So if you're not familiar with the tabletop RPG or played the game, you will have many questions like, what are the clear differences between an edgerunner and a netrunner? And can someone be both of those things? Why are netrunners always taking showers while jacked up on the net? And my personal favorite, How the hell are you supposed to downgrade your cyberware if you're showing signs of cyberpsychosis? Like, how does that even work? Because in one of the scenes near the end of the anime, we see David take off his leg implants and just just look at him. He's literally just a torso. He doesn't have any legs or hands at this point. How do you downgrade from this? Like, how? You will get absolutely no answer to any of these questions, and you have to look them up, think yourself online. And that's a shame, because I believe if you present something, you need to solve it within the medium that you showed it in. So it's kind of lazy for Studio Trigger to just let just let the universe, and so it's kind of, I found it kind of lazy for Studio Trigger to not really bother explaining any of these things. Now, despite the bittersweet ending of the anime, I want to leave things on a somewhat positive tone. The lessons I choose to take out from this anime is that even in a dystopian future where any possible chance of a fairer and brighter future has been crushed to dirt, you can still make a difference for yourself. It doesn't matter if it seems impossible to save the world, you should at least try to save yourself and those you care about, so that they can remember you even if no one else would. Because at the end, that's the only thing any of us can do. Well, that's it. Despite the weekly dose of sadness this anime will probably give me, I'm still glad that I decided to watch it. See you later. Take care.